Welcome back to the show. Today we've got Steve Hochman, right? Literally the legendary coach that has got many of us on the path to right dieting, the right vision for their life. All of us want to work on getting healthy, getting slim, getting that body that if you ever see some of the bodies that Steve works on, the amazing work that he does, it's very impressive. He's got a very simple program to follow. Simple, maybe not easy. And we're going to dive into it today. And Steve, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Anthony. I'm excited to be here.
Most people, when we talk about dieting, I don't know about you, but most people are overwhelmed. I was working out with my wife yesterday morning, and I was listening to a podcast from a group, and had a bunch of doctors on there. Penn and Teller was on there, and Penn was on there, and a bunch of other, very celebrity folks that are doing this diet. And it's contrary to every other diet that I was working on. This one's all about being vegetarian and the number and this, get rid of all the meats. And I'm like, all right, look, man, I stopped in the middle of my workout. I looked over my wife, and the two of us were listening to the same podcast. I'm like, this is overwhelming. This is completely opposite of everything I'm working on. It felt overwhelmed.
Yeah, the truth is, and this is the way I think of it, Anthony. We're at war against the food industry and people that are trying to kill us to make profits. I mean, that's the real truth. And we all have a purpose to be on this earth, and I know my purpose is to help clear this up and to help as many thousands or millions of people as I can. And the reason why I know I can do this, Anthony, is I mean, for one, obviously, I helped myself. I was 300 pounds, full of anxiety, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, was told I was going to be on medicine for the rest of my life. And for the last 25 years, I've been leaner than most people have been in this industry. Another thing is, when I first started in this industry, I did revolutionize. I revolutionized this industry twice, and I'm going to do it a third time. The first time is in the personal training industry. I revolutionized it by group training and by doing auto debit instead of selling packages. We're not going to get into that. what I did for the industry with that. The second thing I did was I co-founded the largest boot camp franchise in the world called Fit Body Boot Camp. Everyone was doing them in the park. I saw a better way to do it by doing indoor fitness boot camps, and it became the largest franchise in the world. I've been seeing for the last 2.5 decades everybody doing nutrition wrong. Doesn't mean people can't get results temporarily, but I see it so obvious that they're doing it wrong, from their mindset to the way they're doing it, to the way they're starving themselves, to the things that they don't know, to the hidden ingredients out there that are making us fat. And I'm dedicated to revolutionize the industry this way as well, and to help as many people as possible. That's why I'm here on this earth. And hopefully that's what we could do on this podcast. When people are listening, we can make a difference today.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, the medical world is not interested in fixing you, right? They're looking, they're interested in having patience, right? And my judgment is that a lot of doctors have so little experience or knowledge on nutritional facts. Today maybe they're starting to see that, hey, they've got this huge deficiency. Most doctors have what, maybe a 2-hour course on nutrition, and it really doesn't dive into real caloric intake and the things that you're putting in your mouth and how that feeds. Most people are taught, hey, humans can't change, right? Your patients, they're not going to change their lifestyle. So feed them medications instead of change lifestyle.
Doctors get one semester of nutrition, and it's low level nutrition. I have so many coaching clients that are doctors, and they don't know shit, Anthony, honestly. And they admit it. They admit it. They don't know what they're doing. And a lot of times, you go to a doctor and they have this authority because they have an MD. But look at them. Are they fit? Are they lean? Would you go to a poor financial advisor? Well, then why are you going to a fat doctor telling you how to get lean? And that's the truth of the industry. It's really sad. It's really sad, what's out there. And let's clear it up today, man. Let's clear this up and help some people.
But as we start to dive into the plethora of ideas about getting fit, I think you have a very simple program, right? You've got
Mm.
a very simple way of approaching the caloric intake and stuff that we're putting in our mouth, and how to look at that. So it becomes, a very, my judgment, it's a very simple program. Maybe not easy, but
Mhm.
very simple.
Yeah, I mean, easy is relative. First of all, I think in this world, and I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent. More people than ever are trying to be comfortable. And also more people than ever are depressed. So when you eat that comfort food all the time, you watch Netflix instead of working out, you sleep in instead of working out early, what happens is happiness requires contrast. And a lot of people in their life, they don't have any contrast because they're looking for easy all the time. But what they don't understand is that you need that struggle to have actual true happiness. And an easy way to do that is to choose what makes you proud over what makes you happy. And being proud is a much higher frequency than being happy anyways. And so yeah, no, nothing's easy that's worth it. But you get very good at something, like when you're learning to drive and you are learning to get onto the freeway. It seems so hard and overwhelming. And now, like, the truth is, a lot of people are on their phone, eating, driving with their knee, not even thinking about getting on the freeway. And that's how anything new is. And don't look for easy, look for results.
I love it. So, I can relate to that, right? The first time you got in a car, it was overwhelming, switching mirrors, checking it out, and then just slowly but getting comfortable with it. I think that's true of all the ideas that we look to change. And as we, start to progress on to this health front, and we pick a coach like you that has a plan. I think a lot of people, make some mistakes, and they're going to too many people, right? If I go to enough people, I'll find the answer I want, not the answer I need, but I'll find the answer I want. Finding a coach that you can trust, right? Someone that's got proven success like you. You've done this with thousands of people,
Mhm.
and the bodies that you create are really amazing, right? The lifestyles and the people that you work on really do change their physique, their ability to move, the way they interact with life through the physical work and the diets that you create for them, or the diet plan you create for them. And let's dive into that a little bit and start with the fundamentals. Like, look, I'm a new patient. I just show up at your front door. I'm ready to start doing some work. Let's talk a little bit about, where do I start with you?
Yeah, I'm gonna give it away, man. I'm just gonna, I have 3 rules. I'm only gonna talk about one of them, which is rule number one, and that's the most important rule, and we're gonna get into that. So there's two things that people need to learn today on this podcast to make a significant permanent difference in the rest of their life. The first one is a mindset method, which I'm gonna get into in a second, and the second one is the glycemic index, which should be taught in schools. It should be the most basic thing. If everybody understood the glycemic index, they would eradicate 95% of type 2 diabetes, which is totally curable and avoidable. Every single one of my clients with type 2 diabetes or pre-diabetic have been cured. So, and that's a big statement. I'm making that statement on here. You could fact check me. And it's totally not necessary for all these people. 95%. The type 1 is genetic. That's different, but that could be improved, not cured. The type 2 is 95%. It's absolutely avoidable. And so, what is the glycemic index, and what is this whole thing? And how do I get people lean without doing macros, without weighing their food, and without ever counting their calories, which seems unheard of because all people talk about is it's a calorie deficit, calories in, calories out. And that's just simply not true. So let's dispel the whole thing. I got to talk about the science for about 30 seconds. So just hang in there. All right. So the glycemic index, the glycemic index is a rating scale, and it rates the amount of glucose, which is sugar. I'm just going to say the word sugar. The amount of sugar that enters your bloodstream after you eat a particular food and ingredient. They've done thousands of tests on thousands of foods and ingredients, and it's available on the internet. All you have to do is Google search 7 words: the glycemic index of this food, And I don't know if that was 7 words or not, but you could Google search any food or ingredient, and it's going to be easily available. So here's how it works. Like, a piece of broccoli is a 10 on the glycemic index. That's very, very low. So you really have a very minimal amount of blood sugar entering your bloodstream. Just by you being alive, you're burning off that blood sugar. Your body doesn't have to respond to that in any way. If you go over 25, now 25 is the magic number. Don't look at what the health experts say. The health experts that aren't even lean, who say, low glycemic food is 50. That's very high. It's not accurate. 25 is the magic number. Okay. If you go above 25, then you start to your body produces glucose that enters your bloodstream from that food. So now you have too much glucose in your bloodstream. Your body now has to produce insulin to clear that glucose. Insulin is the most powerful absorption hormone in the whole human body. So it takes all that glucose and it absorbs it into your cells. And now you have sugar in your cells where it gets stored as fat. So, all right, so there's the science, right? So if we stop having glucose in our bloodstream, we stop requiring this insulin production to clear the glucose, we stop storing fat. Super simple. Like all these people that talk about calories. So they'll go like, okay, we're going to put you on a 1600 calorie diet and it's all about calories in, calories out. I go, okay, so if I have 1600 calories of ice cream a day versus 1600 calories of chicken and broccoli, you're telling me I'm going to look the exact same. One has all this glucose that's being stored as fat and one has none. And they're like, well, no, it's different. So for me, the last thing that I would ever look at is someone's calories. It's like you go to wash your car. You don't go to wax it first while you have mud on your car. You first wash it. You take it to the car wash and it might look brand new after it gets washed. You don't even need the wax. So out of 1,000 clients, I would say maybe like 5, I had to adjust their calories. And maybe that's because they got a 6-pack and they just wanted some crazy, crazy extreme results, even beyond a 6-pack. So it's just not necessary. So why make life more difficult? So that's it. It's glucose in your bloodstream being stored as fat. Now, okay. So now that we said that, there's obvious foods, not so obvious foods, and hidden foods. All right. This is where it gets kind of crazy. So the obvious foods are like high fructose corn syrup, sugar. Everybody knows those are bad, right?
And that's hidden in
Okay.
everything. Like literally, that's hidden in a bunch anything
Yeah.
produced.
People know that. Now, here's where it gets tricky. So you'll see a package that says no sugar. And you're like, wow, I could eat this. No sugar, organic, no fat. This is great. But the thing is, the not so obvious foods are the starches. So you got cornstarch, tapioca starch, potato starch, modified food starch. So just like as a reference, table sugar, which everybody knows is bad, eating spoonfuls of table sugar is going to have a bad result. The glycemic index of table sugar is 65. The glycemic index of all those starches that I mentioned are 80 and above. So they're actually higher than table sugar, but people read the label, they go, no sugar, this is great, organic, non-GMO, no fat, no sugar, how could I go wrong? They don't understand that the amount of glucose entering their bloodstream is way more than sugar because it's higher glycemic. That's why the glycemic index cuts through all the marketing BS. It cuts through everything. It makes you an expert by just looking up the glycemic index and staying below 25. Now, here's where it gets crazy, Anthony, okay? This is where it gets crazy. This is the hidden sneaky foods. And this is honestly, I feel like it's downright evil. So they have ingredients, for example, called maltodextrin. So remember, table sugar is 65. Maltodextrin, which is in almost everything, is about 110 on the glycemic index. It's almost double that of table sugar. So check this out. So let's say you're a diabetic or you're just someone that's trying to get leaner. You go to Starbucks and you're like, you know what? I'm not going to do sugar in my coffee because I'm trying to be better now. So I'm going to do the sugar-free vanilla sweetener. The second ingredient in that sweetener is maltodextrin. So you're literally drinking pure maltodextrin. You're drinking double the glycemic index of pure sugar. And so this is the hidden stuff this is why people are just only able to lose weight by starving themselves because they don't understand all these glucose producing foods and ingredients and they don't understand the glycemic index. And it's really that simple.
Am I trying to stay under 25 for the entire meal, or is it per item in the meal?
That's a great question. So the way I do it, I keep everything really simple. If there's 5 ingredients, let's say, and let's say 4 of them are a 10 on the glycemic index and one of them is an 80, I will then call that food an 80. So I go by the highest ingredient in that meal, and that is what I consider that whole meal. I just keep it really simple like that. And you could get into the semantics of it and be like, well, with all the other ingredients, it's maybe like 60. But if there's something over 25 in the glycemic index, unless I have other rules where you do eat those higher glycemic foods once a day. We won't need to get into that today, but I don't eat it.
Got it. So I'm looking at the food on my plate, and I'm looking at
Mm-hmm.
the average of the food and the glycemic index for each item that I'm eating. So if I have 5 items on my plate, 80 is the highest of them. I'm calling the whole plate 80.
Yeah, or you remove that one item, if
You
if
got it.
there's one food with 5 ingredients and one of them's 80, then you wouldn't eat that food. And it also, I want to go back to the hidden stuff. So I'm going to give you an example of this is why everyone's so messed up, and I'm so glad we're doing this podcast. And I just want to just flip this food industry on its head. Um, Oat milk. Everybody's all excited about oat milk, right? They charge even extra if you want oat milk in your coffee. It's even extra because it's so healthy. If you go on the street and ask 100 people, do you think table sugar is healthier or oat milk is healthier? They'll be like, duh, oat milk, of course. Okay, check this out. When they produce oat milk, they add enzymes to break down the oats. It creates a substance called maltose. Maltose's glycemic index is 115. So if you were to Google search right now, people listening to this podcast, Google search the glycemic index of oat milk. The glycemic index of oat milk is 69. The glycemic index of table sugar is 65. So if you drink a cup of oat milk, it's like drinking a cup of a cup of table sugar. And this is what people don't understand. They're like, I'm doing everything right. I get the sugar-free sweetener at Starbucks. I'm drinking my oat milk. I'm lowering my calories. I don't understand why I can't lose weight. I'm so miserable and I'm starving. I can't do this. And then they quit. And it's because of these things. And the glycemic index and just having this knowledge literally changes the entire game.
So I think that's the frustrating part. Look, I have yo-yoed my whole life, right? I'm
Mhm.
up 20, I'm down 20, I'm up 20, I'm down 20. I'm up 40, I'm down 40. It has been this game that I kind of feel like haunts me, right? There's kind of a number that I'd like to be at 200. I spend more time at 220 than I do at 200. Sometimes I've gone to 230, 240, and then I'm back down to 220. Keeping that and maintaining that, finding a lifestyle and getting to the point where it stays there, right? Getting in a
Mhm.
consistent deliverable for that product, for that weight style. It gets depressing. I mean, it's been probably the
Sucks.
most frustrating part for most humans. My judgment is that people aren't really malevolent. They're not really out trying to do it, but they're up against these food addictions, right? I mean, the
Mhm.
things that are hidden in our foods. Being a recovering alcoholic, when I got sober, I didn't realize that I was in withdrawals every day. Right. Like like the night before, I'd be like, I'm not going to drink. Tomorrow I'm not going to drink. When I said it, it wasn't like some BS thing. I really, at the time, meant it. And then all of a sudden I'd get to the next day and I didn't know it, but my body was in withdrawals and my brain would defend or talk me into some way of some way of breaking that agreement with myself. And it felt really overwhelming, right? It, in fact, felt really over. Now, finally, I get myself a nice break. I go through rehab and I get 30 days away from it where I actually stop the withdrawals. And then is that similar what happens with glucose as I get through and I
Yeah.
break these results?
The higher the glycemic index, the more addictive it is. And so the food industry is playing on this. They love saying low calorie. They'll do that all day. They'll charge you more for low calorie. They don't care about that because what they're doing is, and they'll even say no sugar, but maltodextrin is not labeled as a sugar. So they'll add these addictive. Trust me, they know exactly what they're doing because it's all profit driven. They don't care if you're healthy or not. Even these quote unquote healthy companies don't care if you're healthy or not. They care that you're addicted to their products and that their bottom line is that they make more money for their shareholders. And I'm just sick of it. I hate seeing people who are really trying like you, like what you're talking about, where you're out there and you're just trying to do it, but you don't know what to do. Nothing's working. And the things that do work feel miserable. They're horrible. You're starving, you're not happy. And the thing is that there's so many foods out there also, like once you get into the glycemic index that you start learning about, like, oh, you like soda? Great. There's a company called Zevia that makes soda, all of the different flavors, but it's sweetened with organic stevia, which is a 0 on the glycemic index instead of sugar. Oh, you like chocolate? Lily's is a company that makes chocolate sweetened with stevia. It tastes exactly the same. It's very healthy for you. There's 0 sugar, 0 glycemic index. I just made air fried chicken nuggets. with 3 ingredients. It was just it was cheese, egg, and shredded chicken in the air fryer. You know, instead of using enriched flour, which is higher glycemic index than sugar, and a bunch of oil, and then gaining a bunch of body fat, I could eat all the chicken nuggets I want and be very, very lean. So it's first just learning the glycemic index and then learning ways to make it super creative in what's out there. And there's an abundance of companies and recipes out there where you could have everything you love, but the healthy way. I love eating unhealthy foods that taste unhealthy that get me lean.
Well, I think that becomes, I've been on diets where my wife and I remember I went through the Atkins diet,
Mhm,
and I spent all this time. I remember day one. I'm sitting in the Whole Food store thinking, and the two of us were hangry at each other. We're hangry, like we're gonna
mhm,
start this Atkins thing, and we went through that whole thing, and it was great. Like for Atkins, I lost a substantial amount of weight, and
mhm.
but the problem was as soon as I ate one carb, it all bounced
Yeah.
right back on me, right? Like all of a sudden, it was like a sponge, like one of those dried out sponges. And as soon as I put a drop of water in it, it doubled in size. I'm like, holy cow, everything I just and that that bouncing gets depressing. And then you lose confidence in yourself. And you're like, I don't know, man. I want to get there. Now I think I do a good job of making it to the gym most days, right? And physically working out. My body feels healthy, but it's the extra weight that I want to come. I want those abs that you have. I want to have those abs that you and your customer that you put together with your customers. Now, how do I start to get really, really regimented about that? Give me a little bit about when you're doing coaching with somebody.
Yeah.
What's the stuff that you do to really help them get into being regimented about it?
All right, I'm going to give you 3 steps right now. I'm going to first give you the mindset method, then I'm going to give you the glycemic index one more time, then I'm going to tell you when you could have carbs and how to do it. All right, because you do have to have carbs at some point in the day, and I'll explain how that works. So the mindset method. Most people's problem is they're doing it for themselves. And that's counterintuitive because everyone says you got to do it for you. That's not true. And I know because after 25 years of doing this with thousands of people and fixing myself, the worst thing you could do is do it for yourself. So it's like you want to eat that cake. You want to get lean. You want to live longer. You want to have that alcohol. It's all you. You're the problem. I'm the problem. We're the problem, Anthony. And so the thing is like the greatest illustration of this is like, let's say you're going to work out and it's all about you and it's cold, it's windy, and it's rainy outside. And you look out there and you're like, man, I ain't going out there today. I am not going out there today because I don't want to. Now you take the same cold, windy, rainy scenario, but your kid is waiting for you to get picked up. Your kid wants to get picked up and your kid's in the rain. There's no way you wouldn't go out there in the rain to pick up your kid. Why? What's the difference there? One's about you, one's about a bigger purpose than yourself. And the thing is that, and I'll talk about parents, but anyone could extrapolate what I'm saying into their own lives if they're not a parent. Most parents say that their kids are the most important thing in the world to them. But the problem is, you cannot, and I repeat, you cannot give your kids that which you do not have. If you're overweight and that causes you pain and that causes you unhealthy, health problems, then you are passing your pain on to your kids. You can't give them the solution because you don't have the solution. You don't have the nutritional knowledge. You don't understand the glycemic index. You don't have the discipline to apply that knowledge. And so you're giving your problems to your kids while you're claiming they're the most important thing in the world to you. And you're telling your kids like, hey, you need to get off your iPad and be more disciplined and study, but then you walk by your cupboard and you grab those cookies even though you need to lose weight. And so you don't when you really understand that when you're choosing when you're making these choices, you're directly hurting your kid. You have to say it out loud. It's hard and it's hurtful to say, and it sucks. It's almost like crushes you for a second. But you have to say, like, I'm choosing this piece of cake over my kid right now. I'm choosing this unhealthy lifestyle over my kid. I'm choosing to pass my pain to your kid. If you can't have 100% self honesty, you can never have self mastery. And if you can't master yourself, you can't pass on what you've learned to your kids and to the people that you love. And that's
Yeah,
that's number one.
so the whole mastery of it, like
Mhm.
I get where that goes, right? Having a why that's more than just myself, right? And,
Not about you. It can't be about
not
you.
It can't be about me, right? If I could make it about my family, wanting to be there for my children, trying to be the example for my children, the life that I live, for sure, you see fat parents and fat children all the time,
all
right?
the time.
How we, right? We're out of shape. We sell those. Oh, it's in our bones. It's in our DNA. Oh, it's in our family. No, it's at our dining room table, right? It's in our cupboards. It's in our pantries,
Yeah,
right?
and so that's number one. You have to figure out what your bigger purpose is and make it not about you. You have to, just like I was saying, like picking up your kid in the rain. There's no way you're not going to go through that dark, windy, rainy day to pick up your kid. There's no way you're going to not eat healthy and not apply this knowledge if you really understand the connection. So that's number one. And I'm telling you, if you don't do that, it's not going to work, because you're going to go out to dinner and they're going to bring out the dessert and you're going to eat it. And what's going to happen is you're going to get in the car and immediately you're going to feel that regret. You're going to feel the regret, but the regret is only about you. The regret, like if you didn't pick up your kid in the rain, that regret would be 1,000 times stronger than your regret of you letting yourself down. You let yourself down all the time. And that's why people aren't confident, because they don't keep their word to themselves with these little things, and then they want to go and do the big things. But our subconscious mind is like, nah, you don't even do the little things. I don't believe you. Like, if a friend lied to you as much as you lied to yourself, you would never trust that friend. And so it's more than just nutrition. Nutrition is just like the epicenter of all this, but this affects every aspect of your life and every aspect of what value you could give to your loved ones and the people that you care about. So that's number one. It's like, let's get real with the mindset. You're hurting your family. And also, like, spouses showing up for your spouse fat. Like, here's this version of me that I don't even really like, but you just need to deal with it and take it. Oh, I love you more than anything. No, you don't. You don't.
Yeah,
Like, you
yeah,
got to be
yeah,
honest.
yeah.
People are just too sensitive, and they're afraid to say it. Like, you shouldn't accept yourself the way you are. What's funny? The people that say you should just accept your body the way it is, they would never let someone walk into their house if their house was dirty. Why don't you say accept your house the way it is? Have your clothes all over the floor. No, they would never do that. But when it comes to their body, we should just accept it. No, you shouldn't, because you can't give that which you don't have. I don't accept a parent not showing up for their family. I don't accept a spouse not showing up for their significant other. I don't accept that. I'll never accept that. And we just have to be real with that. And once we really acknowledge that and accept it and have our bigger purpose, now we're ready to start applying the knowledge. Because I always tell my clients, I go, do you eat foods right now you're not supposed to eat? And they go, yeah. I go, so now I'm going to give you the whole formula, and you're still you. You're still going to eat foods you're not supposed to eat. Just because you got some new information doesn't mean you're going to apply it. So once you have that bigger purpose, that's the bulletproof vest that you could wear that protects you from all this BS that you're encountering in the world. So that's number one. Number two, just keep it simple. Look up every ingredient you eat for the next 30 days, and every food you eat, and make sure it's under 25 in the glycemic index. Don't try to find a list. There's lists out there. Don't do that. Just Google it. Trust me, because these lists are sometimes not accurate. Don't go by what the internet says is low glycemic. Don't go by that. It's wrong. Okay. Just like the FDA and the food pyramid, all that stuff is wrong. Don't go by that. So just look up every ingredient. If there's an ingredient that's over 25 in the glycemic index, either replace it or you're not going to eat that food. And then carbs, because this is the next question. Well, what can I never have rice? Can I never have potatoes? Can I never have pasta? Can I never have any of this stuff? Can I never have fruit? Most fruit is over 25 in the glycemic index. And everyone thinks, yeah, and everyone thinks fruit is this magical substance that somehow, even though it's 70 in the glycemic index, glucose isn't flooded into your bloodstream. Your body doesn't care if it's fruit, if it's sugar, whatever it is, the glycemic index is the glycemic index. So when do you eat that? So one time per day. Strategically, the best time is, I call this strategic carb timing. After your workout is when you really do need these carbs. So here's what I have after a workout. It doesn't have to be like this. There's different ways of doing it, different configurations, but I have a cup of fat-free. It's really important that it's fat-free, and I'll explain why in a second, but fat-free Greek yogurt. I have a cup of blueberries with that, and I have a cup of brown rice on the side with some coconut aminos on top of that, and I have a scoop of whey protein with my Greek yogurt and my blueberries. So why am I doing it like that, and why no fat? So I know I am going to get an insulin spike. I know I am going to get glucose in my bloodstream. from eating those high glycemic foods. And that's okay because I do need it once a day. We do need carbs to function properly. But that insulin, since it's the most powerful absorption hormone in the whole human body, if I have fat with that meal, now I have fat molecules in my bloodstream. That insulin is going to absorb that fat as well. And you're going to store fat in real time. You're literally storing fat in the substance of fat in your cells. It's not even being converted to fat. So with your strategic carb timing meal, just don't have fat with that meal. And I've seen my coaching clients do all sorts of creative ways. They'll do egg whites with a healthy ketchup and potatoes, oatmeal with protein powder and fruit. There's many ways of doing it. You could even have pasta, with sauce as long as there's not fat in it, in that particular meal. But that's when you have your carbs. So it's once a day after your workout. When I don't work out, I don't have carbs that day. I don't have those carbs, but I do eat a lot. I eat a lot of food because I follow my rules, and it's not. You could eat a lot more than you can when you're not following those rules and be very, very lean.
So let's go through some
Yeah.
easy 25 or under of foods, right? What
Right.
if I'm
Okay.
going for low hanging fruit, if I'm all right, I'm in a pinch, I'm in a hurry. My judgment. What happens is I go unconscious, right? I'm in a busy day, things are happening, all of a sudden, and I really mean a lot of us go through this place where all of a sudden you back yourself into hunger, you run out between meetings or between appointments or between driving somewhere, boom, I grab something quick just to satisfy my current hunger. Now,
Mhm.
what I like is trying to find ways that I'm prepared for that early, right? I'm planning for myself being hungry. I think a lot of times when I don't plan for it, I don't have a plan,
Mhm.
I end up in that unconscious place where all of a sudden I'm doing something I did not plan to do. So talk to me about how much planning are you doing in your day? How are you preparing for those times when you're going to have that little hunger, that little hangry time?
Well, first of all, let me address this whole hangry thing. So the problem is that when you are eating high glycemic foods, which most people eat, even though they don't even realize it, because I said there's all those hidden ingredients. So if anyone's overweight and they come to me, they go, "Oh, I eat pretty healthy." I'm like, "No, you don't, because if you did, you'd be lean." And then I go through their diet and I point out all the mega high glycemic foods they're eating. So when you're getting these spikes where it's going up, down, up, down, up, down, yeah, you do feel like you're on a roller coaster. You feel that intense, like it's an addiction. It's an addiction. So you feel those cravings, you feel this hangry feeling, you feel all these different things. When you start using these three rules, you eliminate those spikes and you eliminate the roller coaster, and that hangry, crazy feeling, it's drastically reduced by like 90%. So I don't feel those things, number one. Number two, I've literally like embedded into my brain that I am hurting my kids if I have to stop by a convenience store and get some crappy food because I'm like a little uncomfortable, and then I'm supposed to tell my kids that they're supposed to, you know, use discipline and work hard and be uncomfortable and do their schoolwork or whatever they got to do, then I'm a hypocrite. So I just don't do it. I mean, honestly, like, I'm sorry, but the truth is there's winners and there's losers. This is the truth. Like, there's going to be a certain amount of the population that are losers, right? And you can't help that. If everyone was a winner, then that wouldn't even mean anything. Some people are just going to be mentally weak and they just can't deal with it. Most people just don't know what to do. The majority of people just don't understand that they don't know what to do. They're good
Yeah,
people and they're not weak.
look, I
And
don't
they're
know they're
not weak.
mentally weak. I mean, I think most people today are up
I
against
agree.
an addiction. Look, I don't know that
No, I
addicts are
agree, I
mentally
agree.
weak.
Anthony, I wanna
Right,
make sure you
right,
understand. I agree with
yeah,
what you're saying.
yeah,
Most people, like 90% of people are good people. They just don't know what to do. They're
yeah.
being like
They're up
they're
against
being
a villain they can't see. Or
they
look,
can't see
I
that they're addicted
yeah,
by these
yeah,
ingredients, that the food industry knows what they're doing. That's what I'm saying,
yeah.
most people. So but when you have that higher purpose also, honestly, like, I don't get myself in those situations too often, and I'll explain how, like, you asked me, like, what to do. But the first thing is, there's just no option. I'm not going to even open the door to that. Like, I'm not I won't eat. You're asking me, right? I'm not saying I'm your normal person, but I'm just telling you the truth. I'm always gonna be honest. I won't eat. Like, if I didn't prepare at all, and I was irresponsible that way, and there's nothing available, which is very rare, then I won't eat. I won't eat. I've not eaten for, 3 days before, not because I wasn't prepared, because I was fasting, but I'm just saying, like, the human body could go, 5 days without eating without a
Well,
problem.
I
So
think
you could
once you
go
get
a
in,
couple hours.
once you get on the glycemic index rules and you're not in withdrawals, I think you have a shot at not eating. My judgment is
Yes,
that when
yes,
your insulin or your sugar is at a drop and your body's craving, right? Those
yes,
cravings make your mind do crazy shit, right? All of a sudden you
yeah,
got, you've got this powerful addiction that's talking you into stuff that you wouldn't do. I
yeah,
mean, if you ever look at addicts, they all of a sudden they're doing stuff that they never would do, but
of course, of course.
would withdraw, and they're doing stuff that they've lied to themselves 1,000 times, or I lied to
Stealing
myself a
from their
thousand
mom,
times.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, right. All of a sudden
stealing
you're
from their mom, whatever,
that's right.
yeah, exact
Yeah, yeah,
sorry.
nobody in their life, nobody steals from their mom that wants to, right? You have some sort of addictive mentality that kicks in there that justifies it, and it's crazy shit, right? It literally addiction is cunning, baffling, and powerful, and I think that's the thing we have to have grace for each other. We have to look at them and go, look, you're not a piece of shit. You're just in a place where you're not trained. And once I got, like for me, once I got a break from that addiction, I can easily look over there and go, I can't believe I ever did that. I can't believe I ever drank like I did. I just can't imagine. I'm a father of five that I ever drank like I did when I was a drinker. But in the moment, I remember every night on Sunday nights at 60 Minutes would come on, that tick, 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 tick. I would say to myself, this week, I'm not going to drink for sure. I'm not going
Yeah,
to drink no matter what. And I meant it. Like I really meant it. And all
yeah,
of a sudden I'd be drinking again. And it wasn't about it being weak. It was a matter of this cunning, baffling, and powerful kicks in. And it's such a helpless feeling for an addict. And it's like it's something that if you haven't gone through addiction, it feels like a weak, whippy thing. Like you're just not strong enough. But I watch people go through. I mean, I literally interview people every week. They have gone through these addictions, and they're not that kind of people. Now, once I get separate from it, and I've got a little room between me and the time I was in withdrawals, I can now, that first drink becomes a acceptable distance between me and that first drink, or that me and that first sugar, or that breaking that diet. Now I've got a chance at being thoughtful and conscious. But a lot of those folks that are in that withdrawal spot, those guys are when you're stealing for your mom. That is not a
yeah.
conscious thought.
So
That is
so let me
a
ask you
I have to.
s
Yeah,
so let me ask you this, how many
yeah.
times did you go to rehab? Or, like, how many times did you try to
Once,
quit, would you say? Once?
once. Well,
Okay,
actually, hold on,
and what
twice. Once when I was a kid.
twice.
When I was a kid. Yeah.
Okay, and so what was the final thing that made you change?
It was this little, I had people coming up to me and saying, "Hey, look, we're worried about you. Hey, we're worried about you. Hey, we're worried about you. Don't worry, I got this." I had three interventions: one for my work, one for my mother, one for my wife, and they were like, "Hey, we're worried about you." They're people who love me, right? People who are like, "Hey,
Yeah,
we love you, but we're just noticing that you're a little off the hook here." And
yeah,
and I would say to them, "Hey, don't worry, I got this." When I talked to them, I wasn't lying to them. I wasn't like, "Hey, I'm gonna go do it." At the time I said it to them, I believed it like it was gravity. Like you could trust me, I got this. And then all of a sudden, I'd be doing it again. It was this feeling of like, I can't believe I did that. That's this hopeless feeling. And my judgment is a lot of us Americans are in that stage right now because the amount of glucose that we're taking, the amount of sugar that we're
yeah,
taking, most of us have this feeling of fuck, I can't believe I'm doing it again. I mean, I just, we make these New Year's resolutions and we say this is gonna be it. Everybody wants to be healthy. I heard nobody wants to be fat. There's not anybody out there going, fuck it, I'm just gonna be fat. There's nobody wakes up and goes, fuck it, today I'm gonna be fat.
no,
I mean, maybe you do get desperate or something. You throw in the towel, but uh, you know, the fuck it's come in the withdrawals, in that cutting, baffling, and powerful. And that part of it says, you know, I meant it. Look, you're there because you're not in withdrawal. But the guy who's eating a candy bar today and his glucose just shot through the roof, and then he's
mm,
wondering why he's eating cookies at night. It's literally some sort of withdrawal. And I think that's the part where
yeah,
how do we help folks off of that,
yeah.
get a little bit of a
So
break from it?
yeah.
Because
So
once I
so the first
relapse, yeah,
yeah. So the first, I mean, it's really those 2 steps. Number 1, you really have to have that purpose that's bigger than yourself to push you through those hard times. It might take a week to get this out of your system. That's what I've seen. It takes about a week for some people. That's like the most it takes. It doesn't take that long, which is good. And then really just being vigilant about looking up the glycemic index of every ingredient that you eat for that first week and for that first month. And after about a month of doing that, you're going to become familiar with 99% of the ingredients that you're ever going to eat in your life. And when you see those ingredients again, you're not going to have to keep looking them up. Like when you see maltodextrin and you already looked it up and know it's 110 on the glycemic index, and you see that, you're going to go like, oh, I see. They're trying to get me addicted to this food. I'm not going back ever again because I want to have control over my life and I want to be able to give value to my family. And so that's really how you do it. And it takes time and it takes work. It takes commitment. And that's why that bigger purpose is so important. Because if it's just about you and you're going through those withdrawals during that first week, depending on how deep you are into this addiction of food and glucose, if you don't have that bigger purpose, you'll succumb to it because it's just about you and you've already let yourself down so much. It took your mom coming to you, your wife coming to you, and it took all these people coming to you. You weren't doing it yourself, and so that's what it is. But it is possible.
No, no,
It's
I woke
not.
up one morning,
Yeah,
I woke up one morning and I knew I didn't have it. Like, I remember
yeah,
that feeling. I woke up that morning and that night before, I'd gone and, I relapsed that night, or I went out and had a bender, and then I woke up in the morning and I'm like, "Man, maybe I don't have this." And there was this
yeah,
little glimmer of hope, right? This little glimmer of like, maybe it's time to go do something. And I called my insurance company and they sent me some treatment center, and it was like about an hour and a half from here. And I Ubered there. I
mhm,
literally, I knew that I had to go now, right? When we get that opportunity to go make that change, now it's time to go learn about your addiction. All right. I learned that one is too many, 1,000 never enough. Same thing that happens with sugar. I made it three
same
months
thing.
without any sugar in my life. And I had one hamburger, one
Yeah,
fast food company hamburger. And that night I had ice cream. I went from a hamburger with sugar in the bun to that night having sugar, and then 3 months of complete, just like one's too many, 1,000's never enough, right? That addictive mentality kicked in. There was nothing between me and that, that bun. And I think that's why we got to have a coach like you that stays vigilant on us, right? Stay check in, right? Communicating with us, being able to have a coach that like you do with your people, support them and keep them on track and create a plan looking forward that's looking for those opportunities where, hey, you're gonna go to a convention, right? You're gonna be traveling. What's your plan for how you're gonna eat, right? Having a
one of the
plan
one of the
before I walk into a place.
Yeah, and when you were saying you had that one thing, the truth is that you were probably unbeknownst to you eating ingredients that were very high glycemic that you didn't even know. So you still had those receptors that are very, powerful. And then when you had that one big thing, you really felt it. The truth is like when my coaching clients do have a slip up and they have this big cheat day, it's not a big deal because they really are not having anything high glycemic other than that, and it's all the hidden things that are keeping you addicted. So then when you do have that big cheat day, like those receptors are very, very powerful. And one of the things that I hear from my clients when I know that they've turned the corner is they start changing the way they talk about things. They say break character. So I always associate everything to your character. Like I don't it's not about food for me. I love food, don't get me wrong. I mean, I could go on for forever. Like yesterday, I had air fried chicken nuggets. I eat protein ice cream every night. So protein ice cream, you make it with I have one of those Ninja Creamies. You don't need that to make it, but God, it's just so good with low fat cottage cheese, protein powder, Lily's chocolate chips, new natural stevia sweetened chocolate syrup, macadamia nuts. I mean, when I'm talking about, I have this every night. This is me every night. Why would I have regular ice cream when I'm having like ice cream that you couldn't even tell the difference with? I'm eating um just amazing food all day long because you get very, very good at this. But when my coaching clients say like, look, I went to a concert and I actually didn't prepare properly, but I didn't break character. I had water. I waited till I got home, and I was so proud of myself. I was so proud I didn't break character. They're not thinking about food like, oh, I just need to eat right now. They're like, I'm not breaking character, man. My character is that I care about my family. I show up for my people. I can't give that which I don't have. I can't help someone with a solution if I don't have my own solution. And so when they start using words like that with me, that's when I know they've turned the corner. I'm like, all right, this person's got it. This is a permanent lifestyle change right here. You know, and so like you were asking me, like, what's a good example? Like, it's not that hard. So like today, like I'll have eggs. I'll do like for me, like maybe 3 or 4 yolks, maybe a little bit of egg whites too to make it a little bigger. I'll add some riced cauliflower to it. I'll add cheese on top of that, some avocado, some Primal Kitchen Buffalo Ranch sauce. That'll be my breakfast. It tastes amazing. Then later I'll have air fried chicken nuggets that are just crunchy, and I'll make a dressing with like a dipping sauce with organic mustard, again, Primal Kitchen Buffalo Ranch, a little bit of liquid stevia to make it sweet, and I'll dip into that. Again, it's all like 0 on the glycemic index. I'll just stuff myself with that. Later I'll have salmon with some asparagus. After that I'll probably make so I make this bread with 2 ingredients. It's just cottage cheese and egg white powder, and it's called cloud bread. It makes fluffy bread. So maybe I'll go to In and Out with my family, and I'll have a protein style burger with no sauce, but I'll get cheese on it, and I'll use my own buns and with that cloud bread. And I mean, I have a regular, and then I'll come home and I'll have my protein ice cream with my like hot fudge on it. So it's like, yes, I am very disciplined, but it's also kind of cheating because it doesn't even require that much discipline when you've done it for a while and you master this, and you could eat the most amazing foods that taste unhealthy but get you shredded and lean, and you're able to give that solution to your family now and to everyone around you, and that's what my purpose is on this earth.
That's awesome. I tell you what, Steve, what I want to make sure is that folks have a way to get a hold of you. If people want to get a hold of you and bring you in as a coach, and they want to really dial in to get to, I mean, the bodies that you create, guys, you got to go check out Steve's work. It's amazing. His work is legendary. The bodies that he creates are legendary. If you want to dial into Steve's work, Steve, what's the best place for them to catch up with you?
Yeah, the best place is to go to Instagram. It's stevehochman.driven. Just shoot me a DM, and I'm here to help. That's what I'm on this earth for.
Your work is legendary. The bodies you create are beautiful. The work that you make it simple for us to get there. Steve, I got to tell you, it's a joy and a pleasure and an honor to have you on here. I feel gifted to have you here, and I hope that we've spread this word of the work that you're doing. Folks, go look him up now. I'm telling you, if you want to be part of something that's amazing, his techniques are simple, maybe not always easy, but simple, and you too can have that kind of body that you're proud of, and somebody that's going to take you to retirement that's healthy and lean and fit and ready to really take on the older years of our life in a way that's really going to be dynamic. Steve, thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you, Anthony. Anytime.
As everybody in the background, the whole group back there, Joe and Connor and all the boys and girls that put the show on, we're grateful for you listening. Please take a second and like and subscribe and hit that little bell down there and pass this on. Thanks for being here.